So good morning, and I'd really like to start by thanking Gaza for this amazing opportunity. You always do an amazing job, and it's really exciting to be here. Thanks also to the host, Amazon, for having us here. So we have a really great panel today. We are kind of the mini United Nations, me coming from the United Nations, because we have people from all over the world. We have Brazil, we have Canada, we have Singapore, we have United Arab Emirates and the UK. So we are kind of representing all different parts of the world. And without further ado, because we have great speakers here, I'd really like to jump straight into it and talk about fraud. And I'd like to start with Rafael Fernandes, who is a prosecutor from Brazil, so a very exciting new profile from the earlier profiles that we've heard this morning. And Rafael is a member of Gaza as well, a prosecutor like I mentioned, and he's done some really exciting work also to prevent fraud. So he's got a very kind of interesting profile and perspective here. And as a prosecutor, Rafael, what can you tell us about the profiles of fraudsters in today's world?
Okay, well, good morning, everyone. Thanks, Riikka, thanks, Gas and Amazon for hosting this event. Okay, the profile of fraudsters is very heterogeneous. We have transnational organized criminal groups like the ones that are committing fraud from the Southeast Asia camps with enslaved scammers, enslaved workforce. But in the case of Brazil, we mainly have smaller groups, smaller criminal groups formed mainly by young adults between 20 and 30 years old. They are driven by greed. Like most criminals, they have some tech knowledge and high social engineering knowledge to explore all the breaches. And in the case of Brazil, sometimes we have also big, large organized criminal groups migrating from traditional crimes like drug trafficking or bank robberies to this scam industry, which is a low-risk activity and very profitable. And we also have many people attracted to act aiding fraudsters, like providing their data for mule accounts. Yes, and even in Brazil, there's a certain glorification of the scam activity, attracting many youngs. They are known in Brazil as, there's a slang for it, it's a name, HAU, which is R-A-U-L. Netflix has announced the launch of a series dedicated to the ostentation lifestyle of their hosts that unfortunately has attracted many young guys to commit this kind of crime. That's it.
That's really interesting, that glorification of a particular lifestyle, and that really calls for very, very strong prevention measures as well. And I know you, as a prosecutor, have done that as well. What about the recent modus operandi of those organized criminal groups and fraudsters in general? What can you tell?
Okay, I could highlight three kinds of scams. We have deepfakes made with AI, showing celebrities like the Brazilian famous top model Gisele Bündchen promoting some products on social media like Instagram, and also some deepfakes showing our President Lula announcing some social programs, and they attract people, they convince people to pay some taxes to get some unexpected money from those social programs. We also have the fake lawyer scam. The scammers, they obtain court cases data and in open source, and then they are able to get in contact with with people that have those cases in justice. They are about to win a case, and they persuade those people that they have won the case, but they need to pay a tax, a fee, urgently to have this money released for them. And we also have another kind of another trendy scam, which is WhatsApp web scam. The criminals, they target mainly some companies, and those companies that usually use WhatsApp web as a tool for their activities, they are the employers or even the owners of those enterprises. They are convinced to click on a malicious link, and then the link installs a malware in the machine and obtain data from them, leading to serious losses of money for those companies.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Super, super interesting. So then I'd like to turn to the next two members of the panel. We have Aileen and Jennifer. So Aileen is the Assistant Commissioner in the Singapore Police. I believe many of you have heard her before. And she's really been instrumental in setting up the Anti-Scam Center in Singapore and overseeing all those operations, the management and investigation of all those scam cases. So very, very interesting profile too. And a very different profile, also an interesting model I find personally from Canada, Jennifer Quaid, who's the Executive Director of the Canadian Cyber Threat Exchange. And why that is interesting to me is also that it's a private sector initiative. Also, I forgot to mention the Canadian Anti-Scam Center as well, being a private sector initiative. So again, we see kind of different models of trying to get the same things done, which I find really quite interesting. So for you, I would have the questions about emerging fraud trends, which kind of links to the previous question as well that Rafael mentioned. So Aileen, what are some of the emerging fraud trends using or linked to new technologies in Singapore?
Thank you, Riikka. Oh, hi everyone. I'm Aileen from the Singapore Police Force. Thanks for having us. Thank you, Gaza, for giving us the chance to come to America. It took us 26 hours just to come here. So can you imagine how committed we are? Thank you. So, since this morning, we have been talking about scams perpetuating from Southeast Asia. I'm from Southeast Asia, but I don't belong to the scam center. I belong to the anti-scam center. So today I'll share on one emerging trend that hit Singapore really hard in 2023. It's called malware-enabled phishing scam. Right. Maybe before I start, can I have a show of hands? Who use iPhone here? iPhone users. Okay. The rest, Android phone user, you listen now. Because this scam only hit Android phone user at that point of time. So in the first half of 2023, we had 650 cases, and in July to August, within just 2 months, we have 750 cases. So how these scams actually hit Singapore was that, first and foremost, our consumers will be going on to the website to go on online shopping. It is just as normal as any kind of online shopping. Then the scammers will ask them to download a payment software. This is to facilitate the payment. So they're supposed to click on a link. So the first lesson learned here, don't anyhow click on any link. Okay. Now, once the victim click on that particular link, unknown malicious software will be downloaded on their phone. And this software is very, very malicious. Once it is being downloaded, the scammer can see what is in your phone and can even access your phone. So at night, when you are sleeping, funny things happen. But when you download it, what they will ask you to do is do a test payment. They say just do an online $1 payment to ensure that you download the correct software and everything is working. Now, once you have downloaded at night while you are sleeping, the scammers will access your phone. So for people who likes to put, all your username, password, everything in a notepad, wow, that's the luckiest and happiest thing that the scammers can chance upon. So they will access that. Then, while you are sleeping, they will access your bank account using your phone, from your phone. and then they will siphon out all the money from your banks. That's how a lot of Singaporeans lost lost a lot of money. So within the 8 months, Singaporeans lost 20.6 million. So that's a lot of money. So how we ultimately managed to combat this scam typology was that we got all the industry players, the banks to come together. We told them this problem, and the banks were really, really nice. They got external vendors, private vendors, they pay extra money, and the vendors came out with a solution. Once they detected a mirroring of software, then automatically the iBanking will become blank. You can't access, you can't do anything about it. So this only happened to Android phone because Android phone allows side-loader app. But it does not mean that iPhones are unhackable, all right? You might, if one day you're unlucky, right? The other part is we thank Google as well as our cybersecurity agency because they come together to enhance the Google Play Protect app. And they have blocked a lot of high-risk apps for that. So that is how we ultimately managed to contain, but not fully combat the whole issue. Yeah.
Well, there's a strong case for public-private partnerships there, isn't there? An excellent example. So Jennifer, what about from the Canadian perspective?
From the Canadian perspective, and it's really more of a global perspective, I think what we're looking at is what I would call more and better. So your question referred to threats that are emerging, that are a result of the emerging technologies. All we're doing is enabling the criminals, and I'm sorry, but I prefer not to use threat actors. I call them what they are, criminals. We're enabling the criminals to do more, to do better, to do it more convincingly, and to access more information so that when they are scamming you, they are in fact bringing in your whole life history and story, right? And that's what scares a lot of people, and it scares me, is that they can now, it's pig butchering gone wild. And I think we're only just seeing the tip of the iceberg. And that's what's really troublesome. And what we're seeing from what Aileen was describing, that's just going to be the tip of the iceberg because of the new technologies.
Yeah, I think that's the fear kind of we all feel in this room.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jennifer. So now we've heard about the profiles of fraudsters, kind of the increasing pace, the increasing sophistication and so forth. So Andrei is from the UK Home Office, and he's the head of the fraud strategy and international policy team at the Home Office. So Andrei, from the UK's perspective, that we've heard about the profiles and modus operandi and the increasing sophistication and so forth, how has the UK changed its approach to prevent and combat fraud?
Thanks, Riikka, and thanks again to GASA for having us here. I think in the UK we're extremely conscious of the extremely agile, flexible, and sophisticated approach of modern fraud. The way I describe it is a highly amoral marketing industry that will use any tools at its hands to extract the maximum value and revenue from its customers, and we need to combat it at a systemic level. And the role of government is to kind of create that enabling environment, recognizing the highly heterogeneous nature of the counter-fraud system, whether it is government, industry, law enforcement, victims, international organizations. How do we create an environment where the incentives are aligned, where there is clear sense of accountability, and where every part of that system is trying to collectively fight fraud? So I think that's the most important part of responding to emerging trends, because we cannot predict or view every single fraud type or every single fraud methodology. It's so kind of diverse from different parts, where it's overseas from different parts of the world, and it's kind of so rapidly changing. It's technologically sophisticated that we need to get everyone to fight it together. So it's constructing that systemic level response that allows it to be flexible without being trying to centrally plan and target the response from one point of view.
Yeah, and we've heard about that multi-stakeholder approach earlier as well. So that is just so fundamental when it comes to combating fraud. So then we have the United Arab Emirates. We have Mr. Saeed Khalfan Al-Kaabi, who is the director of the Department of International Cooperation in the United Arab Emirates. So what about in the UAE? What is your approach, the lessons learned and practices that you can share with us?
First, thank you, Riikka, for your question and for having us here. First, I would like to say that being here as a board member of the Global Anti-Scam Alliance, representing the Ministry of Interior of the United Arab Emirates, the strategic funding member of Gaza, I think this is one of our international key efforts to combat fraud. Second, under the Ministry of Interior, we have a vision to be proactive on combating and preventing crime. We have a strong structure with specialized department working around across the 7 cities on the United Arab Emirates. We are building our officers' capabilities to be experts on this field. The Ministry of Interior has signed international agreements and memorandum of understanding with various countries and organizations, and the cybercrime being one of the areas of cooperation, these agreements. We have advanced the development of legislation, regulations, and technologies. I cannot list the all efforts, there are many, but in the end, from this stage, we reaffirm our commitment to work with all our international partners in order to protect the world from the scourge of fraud. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Saeed. So then we heard also this morning that there is still a lack of data, despite many of you actually doing an excellent job in collecting data as well. So my question to Andrei and Jennifer at this stage would be, what kind of data and information would we still need globally? What kind of data on and around fraud would be useful in the future to further adjust our approach to kind of respond to these emerging trends to prevent and combat fraud? So Andrei, maybe I start with you there.
Sure. Thanks, Riikka. It's a great question. I think that there's lots of data on fraud out there, but I think we need so much more, is the honest answer. I think for me personally, what I'm most interested in is understanding the business model, understanding the drivers, understanding the costs and the profitability of fraud, maybe looking at individual regions or individual organized crime groups, but trying to understand that business model, right? If we reduce, let's say reduce fraud revenues by 10%, is it going to actually change their behavior? Is it going to disincentivize fraud? Or is it going to just kind of slightly decrease the profitability of it? So what level, understanding what the profitability of it allows us to understand the drivers of it, and allows us to understand whether interventions we're considering will only kind of make its life slightly more inconvenient for them, or will actually successfully degrade their operations and deter the threat.
Thank you, Andrei. What about Jennifer?
So, to Andrei's point, there is a lot of data out there. But the first problem is we actually don't know who has what data where. So if we could start with that, I think we'd be further ahead. But then we would also like to be able to share data. Honestly, we're struggling sharing data within our nations across sectors. So if we could even start there, it would go a long way. And then being able to share that high-level data that will help to point to some of what's going on. As you were speaking about, Aileen, you and I were chatting in the hall about the things that you're able to catch, because you are sharing and collaborating with agencies around the world. So, yes, we want all the data, but let's start with understanding what data is available, and perhaps start with who is the point person, who do you go to? And that is exactly, so Aileen and I were just chatting in the hall about a case where they were able to stop and recoup funds because they knew who to call in another country. Just start there. That's a good start.
Yeah, and you know, we at UNODC, we actually have some of those tools available to actually know whom to contact through the official channels. But definitely an important point to make. We need to kind of like connect each other, and that's I can't resist but to also mention that UNODC and Interpol will organize the Global Fraud Summit in March 2026 in beautiful Vienna. A little marketing speech there as well, and that's where the entire world will actually get together to talk about exactly these things and kind of try to connect everybody, every single country and the different stakeholders here as well. So then the next question, what about kind of the latest innovative strategies and practices that you have tried to prevent and combat fraud? And my question would be for Aileen here.
Okay, so it's me again. Singapore set up our anti-scam center in 2019. The key purpose was to disrupt scammers' operation as well as to mitigate victims' losses. So over the last 5 years, until as of June this year, we have recovered 650 million for our scam victims. So it seems quite good, but when we look at it, what is our 650 million compared to America's 15 billion recovery of cryptocurrency? So a round of applause for Americans. So great job. We were very impressed. So we set up an anti-scam center in 2019. In 2022, just right after COVID, we managed to convince the banks. We now have 7 banks that are co-located at our anti-scam center to freeze bank accounts as well as to recover funds, do fund tracing in real time. So if they don't do it, we'll just stand behind them, and say, hey, the money goes where, you better tell us. So within the banks, they will tell them, hey, the money goes to this bank. Then the next bank will say, oh, the money goes to that bank. We'll do very swift fund tracing. That was in 2022. Then last year in 2024, we held our first global anti-scam summit in Singapore. That is in collaboration with GASA. Thank you for that. And I'm also glad to share that at a point of time, quite a number of representatives from anti-scam centers around the region were there. And then we mooted the idea of forming Frontier Plus, which stands for Funds Recovery Operations and Networks Team Inspiring Effective Resolution Plus. So we have this in Singapore. There's no plus. This in Singapore, it is just an alliance of private stakeholders as well as government stakeholders to come together to fight scam with speed. Then Frontier Plus is only anti-scam center representatives. So if you are new in the game, you don't need to go around, hunting who is the exact representative from each country. What we'll do is we'll link you up with everyone. I'm happy to share that Dubai, UAE is actually part of our Frontier Plus Alliance. Canada is also. And I just want to give an example. Shortly after we formed, Malaysia told us that there was a sum of 414,000 that came to Singapore. That is from an investment scam. And because of our Frontier Plus network, we were able to immediately recover from Malaysia. And just in June June this year, so Hong Kong detected a sum of 2.3 million in the bank account, suspicious transaction. And they realized that it is from Canada. So they immediately linked up with Canada Anti-Fraud Center. And Canada Anti-Fraud Center quickly checked with the victim. And she confirmed that, hey, that is the money that he has transferred to Hong Kong. So they also managed to recover 2.3 million. That's how our network works. Right. So what happened was in May this year, we held a very big operation involving 7 jurisdictions. And jointly, we arrested more than 1,800 over scammers as well as money mules. Those money mules are those people who help to perpetuate scams by giving away their bank account. And on top of that, we also recovered in that operation $19.4 million. So you can imagine the amount of force that we have created for scam victims. And we really hope that more countries and more jurisdictions can set up anti-scam center and join our Frontier Plus. Thank you.
Perfect. That was a fantastic example of actually successful operations. Jennifer, what about from your perspective?
So in Canada, we've gone in a different approach. I'm very pleased to say that I run the Canadian Cyber Threat Exchange and the Canadian Anti-Scam Coalition. And that is a new initiative that was started, in fact, by our Bankers Association when they saw the rise of the scourge of scams in Canada. They recognized that we needed to have some way of sharing information in a fully cross-sector way. The Canadian Cyber Threat Exchange is a cross-sector, private sector organization. And so we now run the Canadian Anti-Scam Coalition with much the same idea, enabling participating organizations to share information amongst themselves as needed, when needed. Right now, we've got a couple of data sharing projects underway between telcos and banks. And that's a use case. We're trying to unpack what we can learn and then enable that to broaden out so it's beyond the proof of concept. But what's interesting is that this is a fully private sector initiative. Companies in Canada are coming together. Concurrently, our government has just introduced legislation to enable the building of an anti-scam or anti-fraud group. So we're working together with the government as well. So it's a whole of society approach.
Yeah, and that's what we clearly need. Also, very encouraging example there. So then, actually, I have one final round of questions to everybody. I already mentioned that we will, together with Interpol, host the Global Fraud Summit in March 2026 in Vienna. And I would have a question for each of the panelists here. Kind of given also what we've heard now, what would be your priority policy recommendation to the world? And maybe here I start with Aileen.
Public-private partnership, I think, is critical. You have to work together. There is something around government and industry and all other actors actively collaborating in a non-confrontational fashion to try and solve the common problem and the threat of the century, frankly.
Private-public partnerships. Aileen.
Okay, maybe I just share the reason why I've been in this line for the past 7 years. I refuse to be posted out. Is partly because of the human cost of scams. It is not just financial loss. We see families being broken and we see life being lost. So we urge every country, every jurisdiction to set up our anti-scam center so that we can disrupt scams operation and mitigate victims' losses at scale and with speed.
Wow, wonderful. That was convincing. Saeed.
Yeah, I think we must intensify our efforts and adopt pioneering initiatives, working together, sharing best practice, building our capabilities all together to combat fraud.
So everybody around the table, including all the jurisdictions, also all the sectors, all the stakeholders. Thank you. Jennifer.
Ensure that as each of the nations goes through and creates policies and regulations around the sharing of information, that you are doing it so that you are enabling collaborative sharing of information, meaning it is going to be multi-directional and you're enabling private sector organizations to share as well, not just with government. Because truthfully, if knowledge is power, collaboration is your force multiplier. So enable that collaboration.
Yeah, and I think we can all agree information sharing is the critical piece here and perhaps the biggest challenge we face. So we have to start improving that and kind of come up with the joint rules of engagement as well in this regard when it comes to global information sharing. Rafael.
I agree with all my colleagues, and I'd like to add that we should modernize our legal frameworks and implement better regulations regarding especially the digital platforms, banking institutions, to find the right balance that allows companies to keep on thriving while creating a safer digital space for consumers all over the world.
I think those were brilliant policy recommendations to be made at the Global Fraud Summit next year. So I'd like to invite you all to give us a round of applause to the brilliant panel. And look forward to the following sessions. It's always a pleasure to be at Gaza, amazing sessions and amazing people here. Thank you, everybody, and talk to you during the break. Thank you.
Thank you.